Jasmine Crockett absolutely exposes Trump's healthcare disaster in this video, and trust me, it's brutal. But before we get to that takedown, she drops something even bigger, a full-blown investigation bombshell that ties Elon Musk, legal corruption, and Donald Trump into one chaotic mess. And she's not hinting at accountability, she's ready to bring the whole thing into the daylight.
Let's say you were elected to ranking member and the Democrats take the House and you become chair of that committee. Would you pursue impeachment?
I would absolutely at least do an inquiry. Absolutely. I mean, I think that there's more than enough to inquire about. You know, we know, well, we don't know. We still don't even know. I brought up Elon Musk a little bit earlier. We don't understand what all they were doing, what kind of deals were even made for Elon to be given this amount of privilege. The firing of the inspectors generals, you know, he went in, next thing you know, inspector generals that were investigating Elon, they're getting fired. And then the pressure that he's put on various organizations. We saw that the merger with Verizon was able to take place only once they said no diversity, equity, or inclusion. We know that they have put a ridiculous amount of pressure and seemingly are trying to pull back resources from the likes of Harvard because Harvard decided that they were going to push back against his illegality. We know that he's shaken down so many of these law firms for free legal fees because he's going to need them, because the one thing that we know is that he likes to violate the law, whether it's criminal or civil. So these things need to be fleshed out, and we need to fully understand. And in fact, that's the Trump stuff. And the reason I bring up the Trump stuff is because there is one committee in the Congress that has the authority to actually do oversight over the president. It's the Oversight Committee. It is the only one that has that ability. And so I think that we need to make sure that we do it. I think that no matter what happens, history needs to know the truth.
Jasmine Crockett just grabbed the mic and lit the room on fire. She didn't just flirt with the idea of investigating. She promised to go full throttle. From shady Musk dealings to inspector generals mysteriously vanishing, Crockett is connecting the dots like she's writing the next political thriller. And she's not pulling punches, calling out corporate bullying, legal blackmail, and Trump's criminal chaos in one breath. This is what actual oversight sounds like. And just when you think she's done, oh no, she pivots hard, straight into Trump's orbit. And what comes next? She absolutely destroys him. Buckle up.
Two last questions here. You said recently it's time for Republicans to start talking more about President Trump's mental acuity. And obviously they did that when President Biden was in office. Why do you think that they should do that now?
Well, listen, and I'll tell you, I mean, I'll go down defending Joe. I can't tell you that I've ever had an incident where I questioned Joe Biden's mental acuity, and definitely had no questions about the people that he surrounded himself with, that's for sure. Yeah. Now, when you are at a West Point graduation and you spend time talking about trophy wives, when you spend time talking about how you've been investigated to the likes of a Al Capone, when you like spend your time like literally in a very serious solemn moment that should be one of solemnness, but also of celebration for people that have decided that they are going to commit themselves, and some of them may even end up losing their lives in service of our freedoms in this country. And this is what you decide to do while wearing a MAGA hat. Like, I don't know how you can look at that. I don't know how you can look at, and maybe he's just illiterate, because, you know, there also was the issue with him reading a teleprompter recently, and he could not say the words that were on the teleprompter as it relates to crypto. So I'm like, I just think that we really, really, really need to wonder. This is the guy that would go off about sharks and whales and windmills and all the things. I mean, seriously, if it was me as just a member of Congress, I wouldn't be anywhere near being a U.S. representative. So how he's become the president of the United States is still beyond me, and how he continues to operate in this very ridiculous fashion. I mean, all you got to do is read the script, sir. Just read. And I know that stuff isn't on the script, right? And he can't even do that.
Donald Trump's brain is starting to look like an abandoned casino. Empty halls, flickering lights, and absolutely no security. And Jasmine Crockett, she's not holding back. While Republicans spent years screaming about Biden's age, she flips the script and drops a brutal reality check. Trump, at a military graduation, decided to ramble about Trophy wives? Compared himself to Al Capone. And he did all this in a MAGA hat like it was a NASCAR tailgate. This wasn't just awkward, it was straight up embarrassing. And Jasmine doesn't stop there. Oh no, she drags him over the coals for mumbling through teleprompters, butchering basic words, and spiraling into his usual fairy tales about sharks, whales, and whatever demon lives in his windmill nightmares. She even says it. If she acted like that on Capitol Hill, she'd be removed from office so fast her seat would still be warm. So how is this man still leading a political party? Seriously, all he had to do was read the words, but clearly the script wasn't MAGA enough. And just wait, because what Fox News says right after this, it'll have you smiling for days.
Welcome back to Sunday Night in America. Republicans were in the wilderness after President Obama won, and so-called experts shared free advice, which was worth exactly what we paid for it. And now Democrats are in the slough of defeat. If Jasmine Crockett is a thought leader of the party, Democrats will stay in the wilderness longer than Moses did.
I mean,
right
he literally sounds like someone who is broken out of the insane asylum. Like, he just be all over the place. Like, get him some ADHD medicine, if nothing else, because I don't know where he's ever going to go. It is time for Republicans to start calling him out and start questioning his mental acuity and whether or not he is equipped to serve mentally. We know when it comes down to his criminality, he is not qualified to serve. But this is just absolutely deplorable.
You know, it's hard to know where to start with Ms. Crockett. She mocked the governor of Texas for being paralyzed. She conflates attention deficit disorder with insanity, which is both cruel and medically stupid. What she's really saying is that a majority of her fellow citizens voted for someone who's insane. So what does that make us?
Oh my God, they are so close to having a moment of clarity, and then they do a full faceplant into Fox News brain fog. They're this close to saying the obvious. Donald Trump is in cognitive freefall, but instead of dealing with the orange elephant in the room, they go full circus, dragging Jasmine Crockett like she's the one slurring her words at West Point, inventing shark conspiracies, and melting down over windmills. And Fox News, bless their hearts, they're out here comparing Crockett to a mental patient, while actively defending a man who thinks electrical boats cause explosions because whales get jealous. You can't make this up, and while they're busy pretending Trump is totally fine, the real nightmare is still unfolding. This man, whose brain is held together with Big Macs and ego, is still pulling strings in Washington. He's crashing the economy with toddler-level trade policies, clinging to a bill he can't even read, and somehow still calling the shots. So yeah, thank God Jasmine Crockett is saying what the rest of them are too scared to admit. That big beautiful bill he keeps bragging about, she just body slammed it into the dirt.
You spent the week hearing from constituents. What kind of questions do they have about this? This is the first time you've talked to them, I presume, since it's passed.
Yeah. You know, I think that it's always important that we go home and we talk to the people that are going to be impacted and find out what it is that they know and find out what it is that concerns them the most. The number one question I had is, do people understand why this bill is bad and why there is nothing beautiful in it? And I can tell you that Texas 30, God bless them, because they listen to real news and they absolutely understand that these cuts are devastating and there is no good reason for the cuts. So that's number one. Number two, you know, I think that the Republican Party has tried to run away from Elon Musk, for sure, but Elon Musk still looms. And so there were definitely still questions about the things that Doge did, because honestly, now we're talking about cuts to SNAP, now we're talking about cuts to Medicaid. And so people are trying to kind of figure out, well, was this Doge? What's happening? What is Doge doing? And so I had to actually go through and explain that Doge really was supposed to be advisory. That is all it ever was supposed to do. I had to go ahead and reassert that it is Congress that has the power of the purse, and that Congress should have been listening to recommendations and then making a final decision. But ultimately, Doge was going in and doing all kinds of random stuff, things that we still don't know the full extent of what it is that they've done.
Without Congress at all.
Without Congress.
And your constituents were asking about this, asking about Doge.
They were asking about Elon. Which Elon is synonymous for Doge.
Sure.
And then, you know, they were concerned about their Social Security. So they said, are the Social Security cuts in this as well? And I said, no. But I did explain to them that they are trying to choke off resources in a lot of different ways. So while it may not be on the balance sheet, when you start to shut down Social Security offices, when you start to get rid of the personnel, you end up in this bottleneck where people cannot access the resources that they need. And so this is a better way of saying, oh, this is just inefficient government, instead of saying that we directly targeted Social Security. It's a more indirect targeting that they are doing on things such as Social Security, as well as Veterans Affairs.
Jasmine Crockett just took a sledgehammer to the GOP's so-called beautiful bill, and she made one thing painfully clear: there is nothing beautiful about slashing Medicaid, cutting SNAP, and sabotaging Social Security access, just so Elon Musk can LARP as Congress from the shadows. Her district, they're not buying it. They know exactly what's at stake. They're asking real questions about Doge, about Elon, and about who's really pulling the strings. And Crockett, she's laying it all out. This isn't just bad policy, it's a coordinated attack on working people, with billionaires playing puppet master behind the curtain. And the interview, it's far from over. It gets even better.
The Republican spending bill also, it increases property tax deductions, which is helpful to Texas. It also eliminates taxes from tips and overtime. That's a benefit for your constituents as well, isn't it?
Yeah, you can say that. Not really. I mean, here's the reality. There are so many of our workers that work on tips that literally are not making ends meet to the extent that they even are required to pay a hefty portion as it relates to income taxes in the first place. That's number one. Number two, if you were talking about an impact that was somewhat proportional, then yeah, maybe I would agree with you. But if you're going to get rid of tax on tips, a lot of people that work on tips don't necessarily even have health care, right? And so now it's like, well, you know what? I do need those extra dollars that I'm going to have in my pocket, because guess what? The cost of my health care is going up. Guess what? The cost of all the goods around me are going up because of the horrible, or some would say horrific, tariff policies that have been implemented. Like, it's not really giving you anything, because we're taking more away from you than we're giving you. So it's just a gimmick so that hopefully they can build upon a group of people that is beyond just the billionaires. They need to bring somebody else in to believe that this bill is going to help them as well.
Jasmine Crockett just dropped another truth bomb, and this time she aimed it straight at the GOP's favorite gimmick: tax cuts that look helpful but actually help no one. She breaks it down perfectly. Eliminating taxes on tips sounds nice until you realize the folks working for tips can't even afford basic health care, and while Republicans toss them a few dollars, they jack up the cost of everything else. Thanks to Trump's ridiculous tariffs and anti-worker policies. It's not relief, it's a scam. And Jasmine, she's calling it out loud, and she's ending it with facts.
What do you expect the bill to look like, though, when it leaves the Senate? Do you think it'll resemble what the House passed?
No, I don't. I think
what won't make
that,
it?
So here's the deal. When you look at House members, our districts are approximately 766,000 people. And depending on your district, you may not have one hospital in it. But when you start talking about, say, the Senate side, especially some of our senators that are coming from these big, very rural states, they understand a lot better than somebody who say, I'm going to vote this way because I don't want to be on Trump's bad side, versus that senator who says, you know what, this means we're going to have less hospitals. I'm going to have X amount of hospitals in my state that are going to shut down because of a lack of resources. Or it's the senators that understand that more people in rural America use SNAP benefits than urban America. And they're saying, listen, these people aren't going to be able to eat. But more importantly, because I'm from this big rural state, my farmers, they're not going to be able to survive either. Because just because you remove $330 billion from the ecosystem, which is the amount that they pulled out for SNAP, it doesn't mean that that money comes back in. So if you're that farmer that is trying to anticipate and plant, you know what? Now there's going to be this money that's out. It doesn't just reappear because we removed it from the federal government. So now you're talking about the farmers that are going to struggle. So I think that the senators, because their constituency is an entire state and they have to deal with all the issues, I know that the Senate is going to give us something different. Now,
Jasmine Crockett just wrapped it up like a pro, and once again, she delivered the kind of common sense that's terrifying to Republicans. She's absolutely right. Senators can't afford to play Trump's little loyalty games, because unlike some House members chasing MAGA points, senators have to answer to entire states. And that means rural voters, struggling hospitals, family farms, and SNAP recipients who are barely hanging on. You pull $300 billion from food assistance? That doesn't just save money. It starves communities. It crushes local economies. And guess what? Farmers can't plant hope. They need funding. Jasmine's not just calling this out. She's connecting the dots and forcing these policies into the light. She's sharp. She's fearless. She's not playing by anyone's script. And honestly, Congress needs about 500 more Jasmine Crockett's. But hold on, because the next part of this Trump mega drama, oh, it goes to a whole other level, and you won't believe who gets dragged into it next. Click on it.